Hoosier fans, it's great to welcome you to another year of Indiana football. The 2023 season is upon us as we get set for the opener on Saturday from the Rock there at Memorial Stadium in Bloomington with Ohio State coming to town. Hello, everybody. I am Rhett Lewis. Great to be here with you. Of course, I am a host at NFL Network. I am a Hoosier football alum, and I'm a partner to the legend Don Fisher up in the Indiana football radio broadcast booth from Learfield. I'm really excited to be back for another season. The anticipation of a new year and a fresh set of opportunities, I think, is just one of the best feelings you can have, especially this time of year. And that feeling this year is mirrored by a great opportunity we now have to bring you more Indiana football insight by going under the hood with IU football, presented by your Central Indiana Ford dealers, a proud sponsor of IU football. You can visit your local Central Indiana Ford dealer today. And our friends at the Central Indiana Ford dealers have given us a great platform to bring you closer to this program we all love so much each week. And we've got some unique content that we're going to have for you a couple of times each week, looking back on the week that was and looking ahead to the opportunity that is to come, and for what is sure to be another thrilling season of Hoosier football. And what an honor for us on this first episode to be joined by the head Hoosier himself, IU football coach Tom Allen. Coach, just so gracious and grateful to have you here with us, giving us a couple of minutes on a busy game week as we get set to open this season. So, Coach, I was kind of thinking about this as we sit here in game week and kind of looking back on my experiences at Indiana and just what that opening week feeling really felt like. And so I'm going to flip my background here to give us a better view. Okay. Don't let the identity crisis on the back of the jersey fool you as we reach for excellence this year and try to reach above our opponents. I just thought that this felt a little bit more appropriate. Bring us inside the Rock at Memorial Stadium, right? And I know we got a lot of work to do before we see Purdue in Week 12, which of course starts this week with Ohio State. But I wanted to get your level of excitement and what it means to you, and when it really starts to hit you that the new season is upon us, and when those kind of goosebumps and that anxiety, because I know it never goes away, and it always feels great to kick off a new season. But when does that sink in for you?
Well, you're right. You go through fall camp and, they have the countdowns that everybody puts out, and it's amazing. Those are they're pretty impactful because you see those numbers and you just realize how close everything is, to you actually get to play your first game. As you said, so much excitement, so much build up. You spend the whole off season. Everything's about these 12 weekends, for the whole program for a whole year. And the first one is obviously on September 2nd. So, and now it's upon us, so you got new faces. You always got new question marks for the season. It's a new team. I think in today's college football world, in today's college athletic world, that's more so than ever, the change that has been created with roster movement. And so, but that's also creates a lot of excitement and just unknowns that you try to, you can practice all you want, but how are they going to respond on game day? So those are things that keep me up at night, because you don't know sometimes until a young man is put in those high pressure, games on the line, in front of the whole world, packed stadiums, with everybody watching, how they're going to respond to that environment. So I think that's also part of the fun. College football is amazing. The atmospheres that you have at the home stadiums are awesome in our conference, and just can't wait to be back in the Rock with our fans and our guys out there playing their hearts out to go beat the Buckeyes.
Heck yeah. Can't wait to pack the Rock on Saturday night. Can't wait to be back in there with my buddy Don Fisher and to be back on the call for IU. Coach, one of the things I love about who you are as a head coach and about how you lead this program is your messaging within this program and with the coaching staff and everybody who has a hand in the ultimate success of this program. And so I'm always curious, and look, we're not going to mess around and pretend that there's a lot of downtime when it comes to being a coach of college football. But from the end of last season to game week now, where did you draw an inspiration? Where did you get inspiration for the messaging that you have brought to this team this year?
I read a lot of books, it's a big part for me, and get a lot of ideas from that. But also it's kind of what you feel, based on what just happened, what do you need to create the change you want to get where you want to be. And we had, the 8 games this past season that came down to the fourth quarter, and we finished a few of those, but didn't finish most of those, and didn't get the kind of season we wanted because of that. For whatever reason, you go through and just the toughness piece to me, and accountability, toughness, love is one of our 3 pillars. Is that word toughness, and those pillars don't change. That's your core values of who you are, what you believe in, but how you repackage that in some ways and represent it to your guys, I think is important, because it can't get stale. And even though we have some new faces, quite a few actually new faces on our team, to how do you get that team to come together and to become a great football team, because that's what's demanded on game day. And so just I would say it's just the experiences that I've had, the books that I read, and just be able to kind of figure out what this group needs, and then once you kind of hang your hat on that, you stay with it. You don't want to give them all these different things that just kind of here and there and wherever. You have the same core, but I call it the power of the outside voice. So that can become with speakers that you bring in that have an understanding of that message, but they say it in their own words and in their own way, in their own stories, and with videos and just other things, even just podcasts, things that we draw information from to be able to present to our guys, to show them at the end of the day, this is what we feel we need to do to get where we want to be. And so that's been the whole theme, is just around building that toughness in the fourth quarter mindset. That's been a huge deal for me. Why? Because obviously we didn't finish in the fourth quarter. And so the focus that's required in those moments when the body's fatigued and the game's on the line and everything matters at that point. And can you be at your best in those moments? And to have the ability to trust your preparation. That's another key component of our fourth quarter mindset. And then just being able to be in control of yourself emotionally, to where you don't have, when your body gets fatigued and you're not, maybe is responding the right way in a moment that can cost your football team. So those 3 things have been emphasizing, and you got to put them in stressful situations to get to that point to shape that. So it all kind of fits together. Strength staff getting them on the same page, coaches all on the same page. Everybody that comes in and speaks to our team on the same page, to be able to have that alignment, to be able to have that message that gets our guys' attention and helps them be great.
And Coach, I've certainly felt it in the time that I've been able and been fortunate enough to be around, you and your coaching staff and this team, whether it be at practice this fall or in your interactions with them. It's easy to see the toughness crystallizing, especially this month, and especially now as we're days away from kickoff on this 2023 season. So that's been really fun to see. And I think, another thing that kind of comes to mind as we are about to kick off a season is what's helped us to get to this point. And obviously you've been around college football now for a long time, right? You've been around football your whole life, right? As so many of us have. And I think a lot of times, and look, again, we're not going to kid around and pretend there's a lot of time for reflection, right? In college football, and certainly during game week. But I feel like even for me now, I think back, and when I was talking to you guys in some of our first interactions together, thinking about what I learned about what a Hoosier is, being humble, being hungry, being hard to play against. And that humility piece is so important. I think even at times like this, as we begin a new season, because we're obviously all good enough to be here, right? Otherwise we wouldn't. Coaches, players, everybody. But we have to recognize that somebody helped us get here. Someone or something helped us get to this point. And so, Coach, when I think about, your journey personally, like, do you take a second at some point this week to think about and be grateful for the people and the places and the things in your life that have led you to this moment and another moment and another year being a head coach here at Indiana at a Power 5 institution on the biggest stage of college football?
There's no question. Matter of fact, I just shared with our team this morning about, how do you maximize your full potential in this life, as an athlete, as a coach, as a player, all the different role you're in. And then the first one of those 4 things is a heart of gratitude, of understanding, man, I'm really blessed to be where I am as an athlete, as a coach. And you think about the journey that we've been on as a family, and I think about my dad, he was my high school coach, as many know, and played such an instrumental role in my life, not just shaping me as a man, but just even the desire to want to be a coach, to see him impact lives and do what he felt he was called to do and created to do. And that's what drew me into this profession. And then all the coaches along the way that made a difference in my life, the ones that coached me when I was younger and going up through college coaches as well, both in wrestling and football. especially those two sports probably the most, and just the men and the people that helped me get where I am today. And then you got all the other coaches that you go through. And I think about Dick Dullahan, who I wouldn't be here today if he hadn't given me an opportunity way back in 1998 to be his defensive coordinator at Ben Davis High School. And that was really kind of a critical move to go there. I spent 9 years there, and every single college head coach I've worked for that hired me, I met while I was at Ben Davis, which is kind of crazy to think about that. And so they all came through there to recruit, and so it's just those opportunities. And you go off the coach, and then you think about Chris Creighton and the impact that he's had on my life. I've worked for him twice, and he and I are really close. And Hugh Freeze believing in me, and gave me three great opportunities: one at Lambeth, Arkansas State, and then to Ole Miss, which was really defining. And then Willie Taggart gave me my first opportunity to be a Division I defensive coordinator. And then Kevin Wilson, who gave me my chance to be in the Big Ten, to hire me to come back home. And so just so thankful for those men and those individuals that have made an impact in my life, gave me opportunities, and impacted me in a major way.
Those who inspired our love of this game and then continue to cultivate it. I think I can echo those statements. I mean, it's so powerful to understand the how. And obviously the why of what we do that is related as well. But the other piece of the why is very tangible, and that is what happens on the field and what happens when we get into the locker room, whether we're singing that song for the glory of old IU or not. Right. And that's ultimately, when you boil it down, it gets pretty simple. You know what I mean? When you talk about goals each and every week on a weekly basis, is getting into the locker room and celebrating with those that you've kind of shed and shared that work with. So, when I think about that work and the competition that you've had to oversee over the course of the spring ball and now this month of August, and look, obviously the quarterback, has been well publicized in the competition. But when you look at this competition as a team as a whole, are there position groups that stand out to you when we get out there on September 2nd that have kind of earned the right to be out there?
There's no question. The one everybody wants to talk about is quarterback, and that's the most noticeable and most discussed without question. But also a lot of competition on the defensive line for guys that want to play, and we rotate a lot of guys there. But that's a group to me that needs to stick out. They need to be a difference maker for us, and so many new faces in secondary still competing. For guys in the final week to be able to say who's going to get the majority of those snaps on game day, and even in the running back room, the receiver room, a lot of guys that we have in the rotation, but the just sharpening of each other throughout practice and through fall camp, and just continuing to, guys go through, and, injuries are a part of the process. So guys got to be ready to step up. And even when you're practicing, guys get more reps than others based off of that, and who takes advantage of that in those situations. That builds trust with your coaches, because like you said, there is one objective on game day, and that's to win. And that's it. I mean, it's as simple as that. And I know there's a lot goes into that, but that's what the whole goal is. And so we obviously have, a tremendously challenging schedule, like we always do, because we play in a great conference in a great division, and get the opportunity to play one of the very best week one. And so just to be able to find the right guys that are ready to compete at the highest level, starting out on September 2nd at 3:30 kickoff. So there's no ramp up opportunity. There's no preseason anything. This is go time from the get go. So that's where we got to be able to make sure our guys that step on that field, man, they're ready, they're confident, and they're on a mission.
Man, that's awesome. And I love that mindset. And I asked the order of that question strategically to get to the last one here for you. Because you cannot win on Saturday, September 2nd, or any week after that without the absolute firm and steadfast belief that you were going to step onto that field and win that game. And, I think back to a story of one of my NFL Network colleagues who played in the NFL and actually had told a story about a team meeting he was a part of in a preseason training camp, where head coach stood out in front of the team and said, guys, I really think we got an opportunity to win 10 games this year. And he kind of told the story. Remember, thinking about it, he was like, wait a second, raised his hand and said, Coach, which 6 games are you planning on losing? Because I don't want to show up for those. You know what I mean? And and it's kind of a simple and kind of almost a bit of a joke, to kind of tell that story that way. But it's so real, and the powerfulness of it, because belief is everything. And so, Coach, knowing the challenge, we all know it, of the week one opponent. How do you communicate and talk about belief as it relates to this game that you're going to open up this season with your players?
Well, first of all, there's a phrase I use and used it for many, many years. And that is, before there's a reality, there's a mentality. And if you don't believe in yourself, why should anybody else? And so it starts in the mindset that you make an active choice, that you understand what it takes to prepare, because the preparation creates that confidence. Yeah. That preparation creates that belief that you have in what you're doing. There's levels of that. There's the competence piece. I have, without a shadow of a doubt, I know my responsibilities. I'm confident in what I'm doing because, I've repped this over and over and over, and mentally, and film room, and walkthroughs and jog throughs and full speed reps and everything. And then there's the preparation part, the physical part of just trusting in that conditioning and execution of those situations, And at the end of the day, you got to be able to be surrounded by a bunch of guys that you went through hard things together. We call it shared adversity. And those things create belief and confidence in the guys around you, because you gotta trust them too. It's a team sport now, as we all know. It's the greatest team sport ever, because there's never a sport that has this many. We have 123 guys on our team that are part of this and have a role to play to get us prepared to play. So all those things go into that belief. Like you said, and I've said this for so long, if you don't believe, don't get on the bus. We got no chance if you don't believe. And so, but that belief can be a false belief if you've not done the work and have the preparation. It's a false confidence if you know deep in your heart you really haven't done what it takes to be at your best in those moments. So to me here, we've worked hard and long to create that belief and that confidence. And it's got to, basically, it's got to show up on game day, because you play different when you got an edge about you. You believe in yourself, you're confident in what you're doing, and you're playing out of absolutely freedom to be at your best, and not any kind of what if or all those other things. No, you just let it rip and go play. And that's what we got to do.
That's it. Belief is not just an intangible. There are tangible aspects of belief that we are going to see out onto the field on September 2nd at the Rock. Cannot wait for it. Coach Allen, thanks so much for giving us a few minutes of your time here in game week. And thanks to all of you for being a part of this inaugural episode of Under the Hood with IU Football, presented by your Central Indiana Ford dealers, proud sponsor of IU Football. Visit your local Central Indiana Ford dealer today. And we'll be back with you with more content leading up to game day against the Buckeyes on September 2nd later this week. Thanks again for being with us. I'm Rhett Lewis. We'll see you next time.